Hey guys, welcome back to Small Screen Shakedown. Today we'll talk about 5 of the worst Nickelodeon shows ever. Let's head into it.
Can't lift it! Too heavy!
Hey buddy, need a hand?
Number 5, Mr. Meaty. Remember that show about 2 Muppet fast food workers that induced enough nightmare fuel to scar your childhood? If you've buried the haunting memory up until this point, you're welcome for the reminder. Mr. Meaty was a comedy series about 2 teenage slackers who worked at a soul-sucking food court, played by a cast of ghastly-looking puppets. This was probably the audience's greatest gripe regarding the series, its incredibly unattractive character design. To its credit, the series did have a unique aesthetic and feel though. For a network dedicated to young viewers, it garnered quite a more unsettled, rather than approving, response. The writing also had its moments of so bizarre it's entertaining situations on occasion, though many were also often grotesque and crude, usually falling back on lowbrow fart jokes and gross out comedy. Number 4, The X's. If the concept of a crime-fighting family attempting to conceal their identities from the real world sounds like an awfully familiar narrative, it's because most of us have already seen this story before. Done better, in fact, by Pixar Animation. Ever watched The Incredibles? The X's does such a meager job of breaking any new ground that it's no wonder the series was cancelled after only 20 episodes. Despite having a couple of renowned voice actors under their belt, Tom Kane and Patrick Warburton, the show couldn't save itself from its tiring collection of corny jokes and boring, flash-animated art style. On top of all that, a frequent complaint from most watchers was that its premise was highly unoriginal, seeming like a bargain bin ripoff of Pixar's The Incredibles, except the family are a bunch of spies and they don't have an awesome shape-shifting baby. While this Nick animation definitely wasn't the worst of the worst, it wasn't that great to be remembered by many either. Number 3, But Ugly Martians. But Ugly Martians was a strange, short-lived CGI animated series about 3 blue aliens on a mission to invade other planets for their evil emperor Bog. Finding themselves on the planet Earth, they become accustomed to the culture of Americans and begin slacking off on their duties. The concept of the series could have made for some entertaining television, sure. However, Michael Train's creation was just another typical case of interesting premise, botched execution, as the actual show itself was no more than a desperate mess of dim-witted silliness, whether this be in the character personalities, the storylines, or musical numbers, including the weary theme song itself. What many viewers tend to point out in their criticisms is the undoubtedly shabby animation and style, which featured awkwardly rigid character movements, poor editing, and dead-eyed wooden expressions. The overall aesthetic of the series seemed to have more of a likeness to a student art project rather than a professionally produced cartoon for a popular children's network. Number 2, Sanjay and Craig. Writers for many of the animations on this list seem to have the notion that potty jokes are the highest form of comedy, given that so many of the shows mentioned have their episodes slathered with such material. Of course, we've seen a few animations in the past that have actually managed to pull this type of humor off. Ren and Stimpy, to name a notable one. But this same material in Sanjay and Craig sadly comes off as just desperately crude, lacking much of the entertainment its better done predecessors had at the very least. A show about a boy named Sanjay and his pet snake Craig, the cartoon relied on an overbearing amount of content involving snot, poop, farts, and vomit to generate laughs.
Let's do this, Mixmaster P!
You got it, Sir Ripsalot.
Number 1, How to Rock. How to Rock was Nickelodeon's attempt to cash in on more musically inclined live-action sitcoms, featuring an aspiring pop star named Casey Simon, played by singer-songwriter Symphonique Miller. Our story begins in a high school, where a once popular mean girl named Casey gets kicked out of her former girl band, labeled the Perfs, for wearing braces and a pair of glasses. That is indeed its ridiculously shallow premise, and one can only imagine the effect impact this would have on the young female viewers who sport that particular image. The storyline gets only more cheesy and superficial as Casey fights to regain her former popular status, joining another band called Gravity 5 as she forms a rivalry against the Perfs. Granted, the cast does have musical talent, but it's sadly overshadowed by the cliched and predictable writing. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.